Welcome to Your Ultimate Life podcast, where we help you break free from mediocrity and create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Get your free video series at yourultimatelife.ca.
Hi there, welcome to Your Ultimate Life, the Ultimate Life podcast and Your Ultimate Life. You know, every time I do one of these episodes, whether I'm doing it alone or I'm interviewing another fabulous guest, I'm only doing it for one reason. I'm doing it to give you encouragement, opportunity, permission, excitement, energy, whatever you need to create, to change the world, to create the impossible. It's also a little fun, a little enjoyable, sometimes a little crazy. I use this background today, and I hope you're watching the video because, you know, it's this crazy thing. And of course, it's one of those AI-generated pictures, and I don't remember what the prompt was that I put in there to create this, but it's crazy. And it's got all kinds of colors and shapes and things in it. And I used it today because the title, today's Brokenness is Beautiful. Like, I want you to think right now, when was the last time something went exactly like you planned? That might be never or rarely. When was the last time something broke or didn't go like you wanted it to? Well, that was all the time, right? There's sayings like man plans and God laughs, right? The idea is that we control so little of what we think, you know, what we want to do and what we think is going to happen. And at the same time, we control so much. Isn't that an interesting dichotomy? We control so little and we control so much. So here's what we control. We control every single thing about us, what we think, what we do, what we feel. We control all that. Now, we may not have learned how, and we may have feelings that come upon us and attack us out of nowhere and all the rest. But we can learn to do all that. So we do control that. What we don't control is what the universe does. We don't control what others do or think or say or feel. We don't control people that are attacking other countries in the world right now, starting wars, and multiple wars going on. Two big ones, one in Israel and Gaza and, you know, Lebanon and wherever else. And there's one going on in Ukraine and potentially in other countries as that gets worse and messier. Those are and then there's some other ones, smaller ones, civil wars and things. And then there are some other wars going on, wars of words, wars of opinions, wars of anger, wars of, you know, race wars and prejudice things, all kinds of stuff. And anytime we do that, we create discord, we create negativity, we create bad feelings, and life, you know, generally has some challenges to it. So why would I talk about brokenness is beautiful? Well, the reason I want to is brokenness is what happens when we crash. When stuff happens around us we didn't want, didn't intend, other people do say, you know, think, behave, cause things that disrupt our lives, that are hard. You know right now what things are busted in your life. Maybe it's your money. Maybe you have struggles with money or business, or maybe you're working too hard. Maybe you're working 2 or 3 jobs. Maybe you're trying to start a business and it just isn't working. So it feels broken. Maybe you're feeling depression, like you just can't cut it, like you're not good enough. You're not valuable enough. You're not worth that much. Well, you might be feeling that too. Or a host of other things. You know, I've struggled with many of those things at different times in my life, sometimes to the point where I made an effort to end my life. I don't know, maybe you have too. Maybe you've struggled with all kinds of stuff. What I know for sure is there are days and times when you feel broken. And then one of the things we can do when that happens is start blaming others, blaming God, the universe, bad luck, our parents, and anyone. That blaming doesn't fix anything. So I'm going to take a whole different approach to this, because usually when stuff's broken, we want to go fix it. And the fix usually involves fixing some blame, getting angry, frustrated, maybe at ourselves and maybe at others, and try to get somebody else to do something. So I'm going to suggest an approach that's completely different about what to do with brokenness. And I titled today, Brokenness is Beautiful. Wow, what a thought. Brokenness is beautiful. So what would I mean by that? Well, in the seeds of every brokenness is the seeds of growth. So the decades I struggled with depression or addictions or I want you to think about your situations and problems. When I had bankruptcy or whatever, when I tell an example from myself or from someone that I've worked with or that I know, the example isn't the important thing. It's an illustration so that you can think about you, because what matters to you is fixing, repairing, learning, growing, building from your brokenness. So if we start with the idea that brokenness is beautiful, then instead of being angry with a brokenness, a breakdown, a failure of some kind, what would happen if you said, thank you? The first thought, no matter what, I don't care if somebody stabs you in the back. I'm hoping not literally, because then the first move is ER. But I'm talking about, emotionally or betrayal or financially. Thank you. Why in the world would you do that? Well, it changes the chemistry of your body and mind, first of all. It allows you to ask a second question, which is, what is the gift here? What is the opportunity to create here? And I realize this is sort of advanced work, because our first inclination, our first response naturally is to get defensive, get angry, blame, that sort of thing. But if you get past that, whatever's happened, happened. Whatever betrayals happened, whatever backstabbing, whatever lies were told or gossip or thievery or anything, it's done. It's over. I'm not suggesting you don't protect yourself. Of course you do. You take whatever actions are necessary. I'm working with clients right now that are in the middle of trying to get what they're owed, and money where money was an issue, and somebody stole and somebody betrayed. And those kinds of things are hard, and they're scary, and they hurt. And especially if it was someone close to you, then there's a sense of grieving too. 5 stages of grieving: anger, denial, bargaining, resignation, acceptance, and we bounce all over those. Brokenness is beautiful. I'm going to say it a whole bunch of times. Why is it beautiful? It allows me to grow. The addictions that I struggled with for years were brokenness. They pointed me in the direction of my depression. They pointed me in the direction of me, like the conviction I had that I wasn't good enough, that I should die, that I should be gone, that the world would be better off without me. And whether it was that dramatic or 2 or 3 or 5 cuts below that, frustration, resignation, giving up, that didn't help. What did help is to stay still. There is a brokenness. I am sad. Thank you. What can this sadness teach me? Humility. Surrender to the divine. That's not abdication, and it's not giving up. Here's something I know from all the different kinds of brokenness I struggled with over my own period of that decades-long work. It's temporary. So principle number 1 is brokenness is temporary. That's a monumental thought. Brokenness is temporary. Now, I left home at 17, and I was already struggling with deep depression, not good enough, and trying to make up for it by proving I was okay and sometimes behaving outrageously to get attention and that sort of stuff. And I didn't get any help, real serious help with my own mental illness until I was in my 50s. So 35 years, I lived with that brokenness. And I mention that only because I just said brokenness is temporary. Well, if I lived with it for 35 years before I did something real about it, and then I was able to do something about it, then it's temporary, even if I allowed it to last for a long time. Now, societally, in the beginning years, it was not okay. Mental illness wasn't talked about. It was quiet. People that, struggled with depression, the idea was just suck it up. You can do better. And there was no recognition, for the most part, of the truth, the severity, and the power of mental illness, which is just as real as physical illness, tonsillitis, gallbladder infections, or broken legs. It's just as real, just as powerful, and requires the right kind of attention. You don't break your leg and then pretend it away. You don't have severe mental illness, anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, whatever it is, then pretend it away. nor do you just take it and lock it up in some institution. You have a broken leg. Okay, good. We'll just lock you up in some room. And when you get fixed, come on out. No, we take care of it. We go, we look at it, we set the bones, we get a splint or a crutches or a cast or whatever you need, and we go about fixing it. Finally, in the last few years, we've begun to treat mental illness, that kind of brokenness, in the same way. Now, this isn't a podcast about depression or bipolar or anything, although that's a whole nother topic, and maybe we should do that one. But my point is, every single brokenness can be mitigated or treated or helped or lifted or blessed. Now, right now, I'm struggling with a limp. I'm limping. My right hip, L4, L5, whatever it is, S1 vertebrae down at the bottom, there's stenosis and, disc deterioration. And so my nerves are pinched. And I'm doing physical therapy and I'm doing all that kind of stuff, but I still hurt. And so guess what? I have a cane and I might the rest of my life. So it may or may not be completely fixable. I'm doing some exotic things, breath work and meditation, and working on it because I believe anything is possible. But for the foreseeable future, I'm using a cane. So that brokenness isn't going to go away right away. But you know what? It isn't affecting me in any way. My attitude is good. I love God, the universe, my life, you, and everything else as much as I ever did and more every single day. Now, again, that's an example about me, but I want you to look in your life and say, where am I broken? Where am I broken? Is it your wallet? Is it your attitude? Is it a relationship? Is it how you believe about yourself? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and said, ooh, I love you, and meant it and deeply considered the truth of your divinity and capability? And if you try that and it's, really hard, or if you can't do it, that's a brokenness. It is not functioning as it should. So that is beautiful. My whole point here is brokenness is beautiful. It points you to a possibility every time. No matter what the brokenness is, it points you to a possibility. What can I do with this brokenness? Now, if we answer nothing, then of course nothing will improve. If we don't go get medical attention, we won't get better. If we don't get mental medical attention in the right way, it won't get better. So brokenness being beautiful is true because it points us to an opportunity. When I finally started realizing the depth and the effects of my untreated depression, I went and started to get help. Then I started to grow and improve, and I was able to get rid of the not good enough, I'll never make it, and self-sabotage and burning down all my success and all the miserable symptoms that sometimes go with that. I was able to get rid of those, even after decades, so it was not too late. And this is the beautiful part, it taught me lessons in patience, in tolerance, in love, in seeing other people's struggles, in being empathetic and kind, where before I was impatient, embarrassed, making up for my own weakness with flamboyance and, trying to impress people and that sort of stuff. And that, of course, did the opposite of help. So the brokenness that I struggled with, different kinds, have all been blessings and beautiful in that regard. Your brokenness, whatever it is temporary. The steps are to acknowledge it and find the right help to fix it. Nothing is permanent. Even my limp, I still hold out hope that can be repaired and I can get back to walking normally. But you know what? My heart is already repaired. My attitude is already 100%. I'm already 100% connected to my purpose, my mission, the divine, what I'm doing and everything. Even if I have to use my cane to get over that finish line, I don't care. I no longer care. So that brokenness is already healed. Now you can heal yours or get the help you need to make that happen. That's one thing I love so much about being a coach. I just had a conversation the other day with a brand new person, never talked to before, talked to him for about an hour and 15 minutes. And when that call was finished, he had more hope, felt more hopeful than he ever had. And that was just a small interaction. The only reason I was able to give that to him is because I have received from others, from the divine, from my own work. And so it is with that assurance that I can tell you for sure your brokenness, whatever it is temporary. It is also beautiful. It will point the way to your opportunities for growth. It will point the way to the ultimate life, purpose, prosperity, and joy. I get asked all the time, especially after I tell stories about all the stuff that's happened. Ooh, what would you go back and change? Nothing, because brokenness has created beauty. Brokenness, failure, messes have created opportunity, success, excitement, positivity, looking up, expanded capability, and it will for you. That's a guarantee. So, first principle, brokenness is temporary. You can always move forward, move up, and create value from whatever the brokenness is, from betrayal to substance to somebody dying to illness to financial things. There's always a positive opportunity there. Just had somebody on the podcast the other day that talked about the financial struggles they'd been through and where they are now, and how the one set the stage for the other. The second principle today is to examine what you do control. Often our brokenness is caused by external forces. We get in a car wreck. Someone takes advantage of us financially, or we get ripped off, or we get talked into buying something that was a stupid idea, or we make an investment that turns out to go south, or we invest in a relationship where it doesn't match what we thought, or where people change. And so we don't control any of that stuff. For me, when I focused my time on trying to get external circumstances to change, I didn't get a lot done. Trying to get someone else to change, to apologize, to admit they were wrong, so they took action. I'll be okay when they, whatever, fill in the blank. That never worked very well for me, because we don't control others, just like we don't control the weather, the universe, the unfolding of space-time, like we don't control that. It's been unfolding for umpteen billion years before we showed up, and it will continue for umpteen billion years after we disappear. So instead, let's focus on what you do control. Well, here's what you control. You control every word that comes out of your mouth. You control every attitude that you have about every person. I don't know if you watched in the United States, there was a debate the other night between potential presidential candidates, and it was a mess. It wasn't, it didn't inspire confidence in anybody about anything. I don't control that. I don't control which people are running for office or any of that kind of stuff. I get to vote, and that's it. What do I control? I control my attitude about the future. I control how I interface with what's going on. I get to control how I treat people. I get to control how much I love you, how much I love myself. I get to control how I serve my clients. I get to control the books I write. I get to control what I do with social media to offer encouragement and joy and hope instead of negativity, anger, and frustration. I control all that. And so often we use the phrase, that upset me. He made me mad. She bummed me out. And, the government messed up my life. Taxes ruined things. No, they didn't. My or your interpretation of that event ruined it. Think about that. One person could look outside and it's snowing and say, yippee, we get to go skiing. And someone else looks outside and it's snowing and it ruined my holiday. Same events. I know that's a silly example, but the same is true for bankruptcy, for losing a job, for finding out that someone betrayed you, or any other thing. You can choose for it to be a growth experience. You can choose for that brokenness to be beautiful. Now, I want you to just internalize that for a minute, because you've heard this before. And my question is, are you using it in your life? Are you allowing every challenge to be to your benefit? First step, thank you. Second step, what can I create out of this mess? What can I create from the problems that have been handed to me? Here is my deck of cards. What can I do now? That in itself is a challenging, rewarding, and powerful game. I dare you to play it. I dare you to play it well. Now, here I want to issue an invitation. Number one, I want you to share with me what you do with your challenges. What are you struggling with, and what are you doing about it? What kind of help are you getting, and how are you creating growth for yourself? Financial growth, relationship growth, joy and happiness, physical growth. How are you creating that? One thing I know is sharing those victories and successes feels good, and it allows us to be public about our progress. That's fun. That's fun. The second thing I want you to know is I absolutely support and believe in you 100%. And I'd love to hear about and share your victories and your growth. Second invitation is I always look for good guests here on the show. And the reason is because I want to share your story of growth. I want to share how you allowed your brokenness to become beautiful, how it became your strength and your growth opportunity. Someone said to me just this week, 3 days ago, they had a story in their life and they explained a lot of stuff to me, and we talked about their desire to serve, and maybe they should write a book, or maybe they should create a course or whatever. And they asked the inevitable question, yeah, but hasn't this story already been told? Hasn't this book or millions like it already been written? And the answer is yep, and it doesn't matter, because each one of you have a beautiful, singular, powerful, unique voice. I want you to think about that. The combination of your own skills, your gifts, and your life experience has created a unique voice, 100% unique. And the cool thing about unique voices is that there are a group of people who only want to hear your voice, the melody that you sing. The song that you bring to the world strikes a chord in certain people that need you, that are waiting there for you. The last thing I want to talk about today is something called kintsugi, Kintsugi. Look it up, kintsugi. I didn't know what that was until maybe a year or so ago. I had the opportunity to interview a guest here that played right into this story about brokenness is beautiful. And they practice the art of kintsugi, and their whole coaching practice or business practice was based on kintsugi. Now, if you don't know what it is, like I didn't, I'll tell you what it is. Kintsugi is a Japanese art where they would take broken pottery, someone that dropped a pitcher or a bowl or whatever, and they would repair it. But they would repair it in a special way. Instead of just gluing it together, they would repair it with gold. Now, I don't know the exact combination of the gold, but some formulation of gold combined with whatever adhesive they used was used to put the broken cup or glass or flower pot or vase or whatever back together again. And in the culture, and so the brokenness would be there, and then there would be all these lines, you can see them, lines of gold where it was broken. And that was an art form. And pieces of pottery that were repaired in this way, that had the gold in it, were more appreciated, more valuable, and more beautiful than ones that had not been broken. Now, you and I both seen funny movies where somebody's crashing into a vase and someone says, oh no, that was a priceless something. And there it is in pieces on the ground, right? Not anymore. I'm reminded of the Peter Sellers, one of the Pink Panther movies, where a piano fell out of a second-story window, and obviously it didn't fall, and smashed in pieces on the ground. And someone remarked, oh no, that was a priceless Steinway. And Peter Sellers said, not anymore. Okay, hysterical. But in the context of this pottery, the repairs done with this gold or gold-infused adhesive, and again, I don't know the technical stuff, made it more valuable and more beautiful. And on the websites that I looked at, there were these beautiful pieces of pottery that had been carefully reassembled from the shards using this technique with gold. And so the lines, crooked lines of gold going up the side or across the bottom or all over the place, augmented and increased both the beauty and the worth. The beauty and the worth. Now, to me, that was a perfect model of what we're trying to talk about here. You are a vessel. You're a divine, beautiful vessel, created by the divine, with gifts, with talents, with a purpose, with a mission, and you know that. Some of us sometimes think it's too late. I've made too many mistakes. I've ruined it. So I may once upon a time have been valuable and have a purpose and mission, but now I suck. That kind of thinking certainly has occupied my mind a lot in my life. That's not the truth. The truth is you're still a valuable, beautiful vessel, child of God, capable, world-changing genius. Now, you can laugh at me if you want, but I know you are. I know you are. Now, if you, like a piece of pottery, have been broken, either because of your own actions, inactions, or the actions of others, I don't care. This is a statement of invitation and of truth. Wherever you've been, whatever has happened, reassembling yourself with the pure gold of love, forgiveness, and service will reassemble me and you like a piece of kintsugi pottery, broken and reassembled and made more valuable with lines of gold and lines of capability all through our souls. And it doesn't matter how broken we were or we dream that we are. The truth is you're worth it and you're valuable. What does that actually mean? That means your struggles can be your strongest capability. That means the things you used to be weak at can become your strengths. That means your example of resilience and capability can be a beacon of light, a vessel of love, and a conduit of power for others if you want to. And you know what's funny? We all yearn to do that. I haven't met one single person who's been through a bunch of challenges who doesn't also say to me, after recounting whatever struggles, you know, now what I really want to do is help people that, and then fill in the blank. I have a wonderful person as a client who has a relative who's had some issues with the law. Guess what they want to do? Help people who have relatives or friends in the legal system know what to do, how to get help, how to handle it emotionally, how to handle it in society when people want to shun you and everything else. Why do you think they picked that? Because they have the experience of being beat down, their life feeling like a broken vessel, and then reassembling it with the gold in the method of kintsugi. And now they have power and beauty to share. And I cannot count the number of clients that I have had with exactly the same situation, whether the brokenness is addiction, financial struggles, bankruptcy, betrayal, illness, dying or nearly dying, accidents, bad financial decisions, and on and on and on, as they have overcome those things and done the work, gotten the help, and done the work to put themselves back together. The reassembled person that you are allows you to be a piece of kintsugi pottery, beautiful, created with gold, more powerful, more valuable than anyone who has not been through that process. I can promise you that. You have more to offer, more empathy, more power, more understanding, more patience, more love. I'm not saying you have to do that as your work, but it's the most rewarding work I've ever done or seen or heard of or anything else. So I invite you to share this message. I invite you to listen for your own opportunities to put gold in as you repair and reassemble any difficulties or brokenness in your life. I invite you to get a hold of me if you'd like to be a guest on the show to share your story of growth and reassembling with gold in the kintsugi metaphor. The last thing I want to do is invite you to go to the website, www.yourultimatelife.ca. The 5 master keys to your ultimate life are indeed that, but they won't operate themselves. You have to take them and operate the locks that prevent all of us from all that we could do until we get a hold of them and take the necessary steps. You have every capability, no matter what brokenness you have right now. That brokenness is beautiful and is the path for you to create your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around,
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellan Fluckiger.
stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the